This IAVC Level 1 course is going to take a closer look at distribution amplifiers. Distribution amplifiers, also known as splitters if you will. We don't really like that terminology though, because there's a lot of active handling going on here. You're going to be using a distribution amplifier anytime you have a single video source that you'd like to display on multiple televisions. Common applications for just that purpose: digital signage, transit stations. Imagine the arrival and departure information using application like what we have on the right side of the screen there to do that with just a single signage player or PC computer, as opposed to requiring a video source at each and every display. They're going to show the same redundant information after all, aren't they? Retail showrooms where you have A/B comparisons side by side, doing it with HDMI, with full UHD 4K. Corporate messaging throughout corporate headquarters and campuses. When designing systems with distribution amplifiers, oftentimes you will be doing so with HDMI, HD-base-T extenders. This is a great way to lower the cost of video switching matrix systems. If you can group televisions together, you can use a 1x2, 1x4, or 1x8 distribution amp to do so, putting those distribution amps on the back end of matrix switchers. We begin with the KD-DA 1x2, KD-DA 1x4, and KD-DA 1x8. These are 2, 4, and 8 output distribution amplifiers that support full 18 gigabit per second UHD 4K resolution. So that's 24, 25, and 30 frames with 444 color subsampling, and 60 frames with 444 color subsampling. They have full support for HDCP 2.2 and HDR10 HDR10 header information on the EDID dial. They're extremely slim chassis and support the full buffer system for handshaking control, HDCP authentication, TMDS reclocking, and hot plug detection may be forced. So we look at the slim chassis of these devices to put it into perspective. We put it side by side with an iPhone 7 Plus. Certainly the DA 1x2 model is much smaller than the iPhone 7 Plus. And the DA 1x4, in fact, just a little longer than the iPhone. The DA 1x8 is much larger than the other models though, but just puts into perspective how small these are, so that you can think about how easily you can hide them away if you need to install these in a underneath shelving or inside of a tight space. You may do so quite easily. The DAs, although simple and relatively simplistic in their connectivity as well, they do offer some really brilliant troubleshooting tools. One of them is the input-output active LEDs. So the concept is simple. If you don't have an LED, you don't have a connected source or display. The active output, that's your connective monitors, they're going to be blue and blue only. They're not going to, these lights don't give you any varying colors. It's either going to be on or off. And when it's on, in a healthy situation, that's based on an active hot plug detection voltage with a connected HDMI display. So the television turns on and it relays that voltage backward through us, and that's what's going to activate these LED lights. Nothing more, nothing less. The input active LED, again blue, will be solid when the video source is giving us voltage and data, an active link we called that. But you may also see a steady blink once per second or so if there is no signal. So if you do have voltage data but no video audio signal. So again, just like the other products you may have learned about by now in the IAVC professional course, these distribution amplifiers give you the full suite of our full buffer system. And this is an up close and personal look at reclocking. TMDS audio video stands for transmission minimized differential signal, but again, just think of it as the audio video layer of an HDMI signal. We look at top. and bottom. We compare the two. Digital video, after all, is ones and zeros, isn't it? And as you use long length HDMI cables, as you use many professional devices, switchers, extenders, distribution amps, matrices, finally before it gets to the television, those ones and zeros may not look like ones and zeros any longer. You have to have a nice, clear, circular, open eye between the positive and negative lines of this helix shape here, if you will. And so we look at the top where the signal, you can make a circle from that open eye, but it may not be exactly clear. And that's when you can run into some digital sparkle on the screen, some lost pixels, right? So each and every device with the full buffer system reclocks that TMDS audio video signal so that you have a new open eye, a brand new signal, if you will. And that's what's helped boast KeyDigital's reliability over the years. EDID control handshaking. You see the dial here. What does that dial do for you? Well, our distribution amp will provide the source, the connected video source, the handshake. It's not going to come from any of the displays unless you set it to 0, in which case it does come from HDMI output 1. We copy the EDID file from that connected display and we relay it to the video source. Now that's one way to ask the display what you'd like. Now, however, we find that in most cases you don't want to do that. You want to choose from our default EDID library, which is the most generic of generic handshakes developed over the past decade plus here at KeyDigital's laboratories, where these handshakes are known to go to the sources. Sources see that handshake and successfully output a audio-video signal that's compatible with the display. And this is really so truly important as you get into multiple display situations. You don't want one display running the show when there's multiple displays, perhaps with different compatibilities. Forced hot plug detection is managed through the front toggle switch here that we see. And hot plug detection is quite easy. In a direct one-to-one, point-to-point scenario, the source may be on, the laptop may be on, but without the projector powered up in this case, it's not going to be outputting over that HDMI. Now, it seems simple in a one-to-one scenario. However, if you have multiple displays and they're not all providing the hot plug detection voltage as they should, you could run into issues. If you have multiple displays and you have many layers of connectivity, like the distribution amplifier plus HD-Base-T extenders and or long cables, you could run into many issues. So you force that hot plug detection switch to the on position and you should be all set. We thank you for viewing this IAVC Professional course.